Good morning, everybody on this rainy, cold. I don't know where you're at. Well, I do know where most of you are at, but I know it's rainy and cold here. And so I look outside and it's kind of, I don't know, a little snowy, drizzly, and it's freezing. So I really think it's going to be a great day for us to stay warm, stay by our computers, maybe make some phone calls to some people, see how they're doing, and just do a little training, do a little self-evaluation about what is our 2022 going to look like. I know on the invitation I got caught, I put 2024. I have no idea why it's so hard for me to write the new February's, the 2 and the 22 and the 2022 and because what was it this week? It was 02, 22, 2022. So got a bunch of twos in there. So, but anyways, it's wonderful. Here we are today, and this is the 24th of February. And, the year is starting off really strong in the final expense business. I'll have to say this. We've got a lot of neat things coming that are boiling up. We've got a neat career program that we've got going. We've got some great people on that. We've just got to get the leads flowing in, and that's just an industry-wide deal on getting leads. And so, but we're doing it. So we're developing that. We want to develop the independent agent. We're developing, I don't know if y'all have seen it or not, but we are developing our brand new on our agent portal, what we call the Lead Hub. So when you click on your Lead Hub right there, it shows you, it's a very neat program there. Okay. So be sure you tune into Lead Hub. There are some more Lead Hub opportunities today. You should have gotten an email. So jump on a Lead Hub webinar. It's going to really, really help you. And especially if you're active, and especially if you're buying leads or wanting to buy leads or wanting to be involved with leads, very important. Okay. Very important to do that. So jump in there and play around in Lead Hub. That is your Lead Hub. It is your personalized lead portal. Okay. That is your personalized lead portal. So jump in there and use it, and let's order some leads. And it shows you a very, very good way to move lead forward and to work leads. In case you're brand new on here, you can see up at the top, my final expense life.us. That is my training website. That is if you work on cars or you work on anything, this is your toolbox. This is your toolbox to go to for most everything. I try to put in there anything new. I've got a YouTube training channel you can click on right there, and I've got some new training videos on there from last week. We had a good group last week. We had a new training like last week that I put there, and then I also have a special training here that I did on buying leads and working leads. Buying leads and working leads. So if you have some time on this rain, cold, wet day, I've got some ones over here. Welcome to 2022. Over here, the whys, 2022 5 whys, why we're doing what we're doing. So check those out. Take a little time in there. I've got quite a few more in there. I'm going to be today also, one of my challenges today is to go through here and trim some of these down, because I've got training videos all the way back 10 months ago now. So time flies. So I've got some in there. But check that out. If you're brand new and you want to know how to complete a paper application, down here at the bottom, if you're brand new and you want to know how to complete a telesales application, it's right there also. Okay, so some good tools for you to go through and to take a look at. This morning, I want to spend a little time, and let me give you a little background. I forgot that, and then I always forget to talk about my background. Not that it's that important, but I think it's important that you know who I am. So I'm sales director here for Texas, and then Oklahoma, New Mexico, Colorado, and Kansas. But I live here in Georgetown, Texas. And yesterday they were filming a movie downtown. For those of y'all that have been downtown Georgetown, yesterday they were filming actually it's an HBO TV series called Love and Death. Let me see if I can find it here. Love and Death, Georgetown, Texas, right here. So they're filming this episode. There's 8 episodes of this HBO series, Love and Death, and they were filming yesterday. this episode, which is episode 8, which is actually, it's about, if you look it up, two couples that lived up north of Dallas in a small town. I forget where it was at. But anyways, they were good church-going couples, and supposedly the lady kills another lady with an axe. So Elizabeth Olsen's in it, and she was down here at Georgetown filming yesterday, and they're going to be here for a week. They've got the streets all blocked off. So anyways, neat little, if you've never been downtown Georgetown, some of you have, it's pretty cool. They had all old cars down there, so it's filmed like in the 80s or late 70s. They had all late 70s, 80s cars down there, and they made it look like it was there. And actually, this episode, they're going to the courthouse, and they're actually going to be filming the court case in the Georgetown Square, in the Georgetown courthouse. So anyhow, little tidbit about Georgetown and where we are at. Going to be hosting another live training down here in Georgetown in March. So look for those dates to come up pretty soon. We'll have that flyer. I'd love to have you down. Love to feed you food or pizza or whatever it may be, and just get some good one-on-one training with other agents that are in the industry, other agents that are doing the same thing you do. Because I think that's very important, because it can be a lonely world out there. So I've been in the insurance business for 22 years, and all the way from auto insurance, motorcycle to 401ks. But I came back to the final expense side because I knew this: everybody's going to pass away. And it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. It's just a matter of when they're going to pass away. So we have to get ahead of this, and we have to be the protectors in our territories and the protectors of our families, the protectors of our loved ones. I say this, and I can't say it enough because I love saying it. It's my 2022 kind of passion. And it's like, it's just basically, where are you going to be at the next funeral? Are you going to be on the front pew, or are you going to be on the back pew? And I mean that about, hypothetically, but are you going to be the one that protected that family and protected those people? And you're going to be on the front pew and hugging their neck, and they're going to thank you? Or are you going to be on the back pew trying to get out of there because you don't want them to ask you, did Pawpaw have a policy? Did Dad have a policy? Did my mother have a policy? Did my spouse have a policy? Okay, so you don't want to be in that situation. Let's help everybody. Let's protect everybody. It doesn't matter, mother, father, whoever it is. People need protection, okay? And you're the one. You are the one. My challenge is for you to find 5 people a day. It can be from a best friend to a loved ones to a stranger to whoever it is. Make it a point to add this into your sales day. Find 5 people a day you don't know and practice telling them what you do. I think you'll be surprised as to what you'll find out, and you'll be surprised as to how many sales you make and how many families you can protect if you just tell them. But today, what I want to do is, I'm not going to take a ton of your time today, but I want to actually talk about the presentation. I do this from time to time, once every month and a half or two, and I think it's crucial. I think it's important to do this. And so I just want to bring up this presentation right here, and I want to talk about this a little bit. I would love to have, I'm going to look here, and I would love to have any of you tenured agents that have done presentations before. Gilbert, maybe Henry, if you've done that. John, you've done some presentations. Aura, you've done a few presentations. Would any of y'all unmute yourself and kind of just talk about maybe the way you do the presentation, or some of the highlights that you use in your presentation? Because I think it's always good to hear from other people other than Keelan. So could I please get someone that has done the presentation before, that knows about the presentation, maybe unmute themselves and help me out here on the line? That would be great. So be brave, be bold. I appreciate it. And unmute yourself, and I just want to talk to you about the presentation here for a second or two. I know I have some people that'll help me out, and I have somebody that will unmute themselves and help me out. Who's it gonna be?
Gonna be Ara.
There you are. I can always count on Ara.
Yes. I'm not the most seasoned agent. I've done like probably unfortunately just like 4 or 5 presentations.
Yeah.
Like, actually sitting down with people. And out of those 4 or 5, I got a policy, and then I
Right.
got a follow up. Like, we went over everything, the benefits, the premium, um, pending to explain her, because her concern was, so how long I'm gonna pay this, for how long.
Right.
So I told her, you know what, Mrs. Carrillo, I'll come over and I'm gonna use my policy as an example of, the cash value you build and all that, which is very helpful, by the way, when I did that training. But I think, we all can help each other with presentations. Uh, the way I have done it is more like a conversation. This is great. The final expense plan, as you can see, sorry, which is that what you have on the screen. And just, conversational in the beginning. Most of my leads are Hispanic, older, they like to talk about their grandkids. They like to show you everything, like to talk about their cats, their dogs. So I try to keep it friendly. But at some point you have to take control of the situation, and hey, okay, where can we sit down and talk about this plan? And then I just sort of follow the brochure. I talk about, are you aware of how expensive a burial is these days? I ask if they're going to either have thought about cremation or traditional. And then I go over how people pay for this. So either, you have some savings, or your family has to come up with the money. And I mentioned the Social Security benefits and either their allowance. And then I go over a little bit the information. I just start asking questions, or ask the beneficiary, who's going to be your beneficiary? Let's say my daughter. Okay, Mrs. Jones, let me ask you just a question. Does your daughter know your place of marriage? That. Or does your daughter knows your mother's day, and birthplace, and then I just go over all the information, and then I tell them, see, this will be so helpful for the person that one day is going to take care of your arrangements. And then depends, if they just ask more questions about the plan, and I go over it. Some of them, they just want to go straight to the point, which is the price.
Sure.
So if it's affordable, as I say, of course, that's what I'm here for. And it's very important for you to pick a plan, if you qualify, something that you can, that you don't have to cancel. Because we're here, I'm here today to help you protect your family. And that's kind of basically how I do it.
Yeah, and then that is what we do. And overall, obviously, Ara told you in about 3 or 4 minutes, and probably what it takes her in the house 20 or 30 minutes. So obviously there's some elaboration and things that go on, and and each one of us have our own style, right, Ara? And you develop it over a period of time. I mean, your presentation right now is probably 10 times better than what it was when you started, right?
Oh yes, definitely.
Well, but what we have to realize as agents is that no matter how bad we feel like our presentation is to the people, it's still better than what they know. It's still more than what they know. No, the things that we point out to them are still, I mean, they're going into this thing kind of blind. So anything that we do, and it takes practice, right? You probably stumbled over your tongue a little bit, and so do we, and so do everybody on the line with this. I think one thing that Ara said that was really crucial is.
I lost you. We lost you there. Hello.
To put y'all together and say, hey, we are going to pass away. Something's going to happen to each one of us. And if you've got a story, yeah, I had a grandmother that died. I had a mother that passed. I had someone that passed, and they had they had coverage or they didn't have coverage. How important is that in your presentation that you can relate to people, or more than that, people can relate to you? Did I lose you?
I lost you there for a minute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So how important is it that you can relate to people or people can relate to you when it comes to final expense?
Like I said, was that a question?
Yeah. How important?
Extremely important.
Yes.
Yes.
Because, they don't, if we go into a house and we just say, hey, I'm here to sell you something, I'm here to make a premium, and we don't have a policy ourselves. And if you start talking in third party, like, hey, Security National Life is going to give you a policy and they have a policy for you and it's going to be good for you and it's going to be good for your family. That's a little different conversation than if I go and go, hey, I've got a policy too, and they've got my back also. And if I say, hey, when I pass away, my kids are going to get $20,000 each, that puts it we're all together in this. And that's what I think we want to try to do. If we can actually read through this presentation again a little bit, and roll through it a little slow. So I'm going to do a presentation, right now. If I could get another participant on the line here to jump in here and unmute themselves. I would like to have a client that I actually talked to. So if I could have another brave person unmute themselves, I'll do a presentation to you. And then the group can kind of see how some things that I focus on and some things that I don't focus on. So if I could get an unmuter, that would be great.
I'll do it, man.
There's Henry. What's up, Henry? How are you?
Good, sir. Good.
Henry is out in West Texas, and he's killing it out there in that area of West Texas. So, Henry, how are you? How are things out west?
Frozen. It's 24 still out. It's 24 degrees in my porch still. So frozen.
Dude, yeah. Well, I hope you're not out on the porch. So, Henry, do you have any other thought processes, and then I'll do mine on maybe some things that you focus on in the presentation that helps you?
I try to ask a bunch of questions up front, like Ara said. Hey, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a burial or looking for cremation? If they're looking for more for the cremation, then we start talking about cremation. If they're looking for, burial, we start looking for burial. Are you wanting to leave extra money for your family? Bills, debts, stuff like that. And that I usually take that other sheet with me, the one that has the funeral, other expenses to think about, and I'll point out some of that stuff. I don't go through the whole thing, just a few of them.
This one right here, you see it?
Yep, that one. Exactly. Yep. I just hit a few highlights, bills, stuff like that, loans that you took out, you have any loans left, stuff like that could be, help pay them off or whatever. So, I try to get everything up front answered before we even go into price and all that stuff. And ask him, do you have a bank account, stuff, everything up front. That way I try to avoid any objections. If they go back asking, I need to think about it, or whatever, then I can go back to one of those questions and go, you did want a cremation, right? That is, stuff like that. Just, there's a bunch of questions, a series of questions that I ask up front to avoid that last minute objection that they have. And if they do, I just go back to it.
Gotcha.
And before you go any further, another thing I do, I learned this a long time. I've been in the business long time, 30 years, right? Yeah. One thing I learned back in the day, we used a yellow pad and I've learned, but I use it now in the brochures too. I use a green pen when I'm writing the amount of life insurance and the cost, because green for some reason stands out more than black and white. I mean, it just stands out. So if it's a $10,000 policy, I write 10,000 on it, and then below it's going to run you $45.32. And then I can just point at it with that green pen and go, just point at it. And then I just hand it over. So that's one thing I do. But anyway, go ahead.
No, that's a great idea. Keep going. I like it. I just wrote that down, and so these little tidbits are super, and that we can gather from everybody as to how you do it, and what works for you. The main thing that I love to hear, and the main thing that Henry has, besides his green pen, besides his yellow pad, besides his getting everything out on the table before, but the one thing that he has is confidence, and confidence in his plan, confidence in his system. He obviously has a system that he goes through. Is it the best presentation and the best system there is? Who knows? It might be the best one in the world. It might not, but it is the best one for Henry, and he uses it with confidence, and the clients can feel that confidence. So one thing I would say, no matter what you do, is try to create a system, try to create not a robotic speech, but try to find 4 or 5 things that you focus on. Aura likes to go in here and build it up and use the historical record here. And Aura likes to use her policy as an example of what we do. For example, for brand new people, if you go right here, and what Aura is talking about is that in my tools, she likes to use this illustration of coverage right here to show the people that, hey, I've got a policy also, and hey, this thing gains cash value, and this thing grows. And by the way, you don't have to pay it forever. You'll have a point in time in your life, 20 years down the road, you could actually take reduced paid up. You could take cash value out of it. Now, I wouldn't suggest going around preaching cash value. I'm not saying that, because we're really about death benefit. We don't want people cashing their policies out. We want people keeping their policies. And you don't have to go to this extent to show them this page or your illustration. But she builds confidence by saying, I'm a policy holder also. Henry builds confidence by saying, I've been in the business for 30 years and I use my green pen because it means money. And I show people what I'm doing for them. So I love those. So Henry, anything else to add there?
No, that's it. One other, for the newbies, I noticed with that illustration, if you really look at it real good, and sometimes you may not have that illustration out in front, or you can't find it. Usually when people ask, okay, does it bill cash, or you're talking about the cash? What I tell them is usually in 20 years down the road, you're going to be so-and-so, and you need the cash for some reason. You don't want to pay on it, whatever. You're going to have about half of what you paid into it. Okay. You're going to have about half. And I tell them, hey, you can't beat that, man. You can't put that money in the bank. And then if you would have died, it would have paid $10,000, automatically to your family. But you live 20 years down the road, you don't want to pay it anymore. You can cash it out or get a reduced paid up policy, but usually the cash value is going to be about half.
So in this case in point, yeah, he's right. Henry's right. In this case in point on mine, because I got it when I was 41 up there, you see, and I've got 20,000 in there. I will have paid $8,200. And the way I'm getting that is annualized premium is 410 times 20. That's $8,200. So I will have paid an 82 and I'll have 6,000. So I'll have about 75%, $6,000 I just take out. But the cool part about this is that, like Aura said before, is when you get that objection of people going, do I have to pay this thing forever and ever and ever? And what if I live to be 100? And that's probably pretty good if you could live to 100. If I could pay $36 a month to live to 100, I would. Maybe Jeff Bezos or somebody will figure that out. But I'll have a paid up. If you see, also what's important about this, I'll have a paid up of $12,366, which means I pay $8,200 in, and I'll have $12,366, a guaranteed paid up policy. Okay, so that's just kind of the myth buster, if you will, of people thinking that, well, I'm not going to ever get anything out of it. Well, yes, you can. Yeah, you will have values and have options at that point in time, right? So
Yes,
everybody
sir.
doesn't. Go ahead.
No, yes, sir. I totally agree with that.
Anything else, Henry? Anything else, Ara? All right, Henry, you are my guinea pig today. I'm going to run through kind of some touch points on why I think these things are important also in the presentation. I don't have my annotator here. I don't think I can write. I can highlight. I don't have my annotator here on this computer. My other computer went kaput, so I'm not real happy. But anyways, so, oh, look at there. I do have that. How did I get that? That's pretty cool. Let's see if I can draw here. Oh, look at that thing. We're going to draw here and erase. Okay, cool. This is a highlighter here. Let me see. Oh, so hold on a second. Oh, okay. So I'll do it. So in this section right here on the About Us, if y'all can see this right here, this is very important to me and I think to your client. And the reason is because I think it's super important because we want to make sure, and the client wants to make sure that we're going to be stable, that we're going to be here. When that claim comes in, they're going to get their money. So Security National Life has been around since 1965, and we are over $1 billion in assets. Okay. So that's important. There's a lot of insurance companies that are folding these days because the reserves are requiring they have more money in the bank, and they can't get a good interest rate. Whereas us, with our umbrella, I'm not going to do it this morning to show you because I'll do it on some of my other presentations. We have multiple divisions within our company, which allows us to be stable. And you want to present that to your people and make sure they understand that it's important to be stable, because one day, down the road, you're going to want your policy and you're going to want your claim. So it's very important. So Henry, I appreciate you letting me come here with you today. Henry, what's your wife's name?
Her name is Margaret.
Margaret. All right. Perfect. Well, y'all have a beautiful house here, Henry and Margaret. And so thank you for letting me come in here. And so, and talk to you a little bit. I won't keep you long. I always say that I won't keep you long, because I want them to feel comfortable that I know their time is valuable too. But I don't want to speed through this with my client, but I like the words. I won't keep you long. Margaret and Henry, would you agree that a funeral cost these days is right around $8,000 to $10,000?
Oh yeah, or more. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and if a client does exactly what Henry said or more, then you know what I do to build that up? I go into that and I say, yeah, how much do you think it would be? Have you had somebody in your family recently pass away, or someone that passed away? Do you know how much that thing was? And I'll let him talk. Henry would normally say something like what?
It cost $12,000. It cost that family $12,000. I'm good friends with that family, and they told me it cost them $12,000.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're finding on these nice funerals these days, and they keep going up and up and up and up. And that's why we talk about $12,000-$15,000 worth of policies, and we'll get to that later on, in our presentation. So yes, we know that it does cost that, and I'm glad that you recognize that also. So we're on the same page there. Henry and Margaret, what we really want to get the elephant out of the room here. And I want to talk about a couple of things here. Is that how are y'all going to pay for the funeral? Henry, when you go first, or if Margaret goes first, how are you going to pay for it? And because we know a couple of things here. We know that Social Security is not going to pay for the funeral, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So I want interaction with my clients. So I'm telling you this because I ask them, is that correct? I don't just read things to them. I want to interact with the clients, and I think the more you can get them involved in the presentation, they've got a presentation in their hand, you've got a presentation in your hand, vice versa. And those for those of y'all that want Spanish, we have the presentations in Spanish also. Okay, so just know that that's there. Social Security is not going to pay for it. Henry or Margaret, are y'all veterans?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay.
We're not.
And if they are veterans, I stop right here and I thank them for their service. And maybe I want to spend a little time asking, what service were you in? How long were you in? And things just to interact with the client. Savings, Henry and Margaret, most of the time we find that most people do not have, $15,000 set aside for each person, which would be $30,000 in y'all's case. They don't have $30,000 set aside to pay for this, correct?
Yes, sir. No, we don't. That's correct. Hey, Keelan, we lost you. We can't hear you.
Lost connection. So I'm going to go forward here. So what we find is most of the time, are you there?
Now you're back.
Okay. Was that me or you?
I think it's you.
Okay. All right. So most of the time we find that people don't have, $30,000 set aside, right?
Yes, that's true.
And we definitely, I know this one. I know y'all well enough already. You don't want to count on loved ones to pay for your funeral, do you?
No, sir, we don't. No.
We want to make sure that it's taken care of. So Henry, why don't you, and if Margaret was here too, I would let her do it. But Henry, why don't you read these bottom two, the check mark and the X out loud?
You want to leave behind loving memories, family heirlooms, inheritance property. You don't want to leave behind funeral expenses, medical debt, financial debt, and legal fees.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
And I make the client read this out loud. And because I think this is very crucial that we stop here and they read this and know, and as they're reading it in their tone, because that makes more sense when they read it. So I'm getting them engaged, I'm getting them involved. I think there's these areas, if you really focus on them, they can make or break your sale. And I would have to say one thing too, Henry, that I would say, and this is not a critique, this is just for everybody else on the line. Some people can do a good job of getting the objections out front, like Henry does. But also some people need to be able to go through a presentation and build value so that the objections don't come up, if you know what I mean. So we want to kind of crush them. Henry crushes his objections by asking them out front. And, is there any, is all these things here or whatever his questions are. And a lot of people ask their questions at the end after they build the story. So either way you want to do it works, either way you want to do it works. The historical record, Aura talked about it, in what she was talking earlier. This is where I personally spend my time in a presentation now. I spend my time in a presentation here because basically what I want to make sure of is that when you pass away, Margaret, when you pass away, Henry, this information right here on this sheet is going to be needed for the obituary, for the funeral. All this information is going to be here. And, Margaret, you need to be able to know all this information about Henry, and Henry, you need to be able to know all this stuff about Margaret. But more than that, if it's a couple, I say, what if y'all pass away together? What if you pass away together? You're going to have kids or whoever as beneficiaries. And how are they going to find this information? Where are they going to find it? How are they going to come up with this? They're going to be distraught. They're going to be distraught just like all of us are distraught when someone passes away. But who's going to come up with this information? And so I say at the end of it, and I'm not going to do my long version here today, but I go through every line for one of them. I usually pick on the man and I say, hey, Henry, do this for Margaret. Do you know where she was born? Do you know her father's name, her mother? And this also, if you spend a little time here, you get to know the people. And that's what it's all about. This allows you right here to sit and you're actually doing this and getting to know them and getting to visit with them, building friendship, building trust, building faith. And I do this with them because I want to get to know them to build that, but also to make them realize that this information is important and it's going to be needed one day, right, Henry? I mean,
Yes,
and
sir.
if you don't have this written down, and I will challenge everybody on the line here. There's 20 people on the line here. I would challenge you, if you don't have one of these, get one from the company and fill it out for you and your husband or whoever in your family, put it in a drawer somewhere. Do it on your own. It's kind of like Ara said, do it on your own and get it done for yourself. That way you can go into a presentation and say, hey, listen, I filled one of these out too. I've got a policy also. It's all in one place. And that way I know that the day I pass away, when I pass away, the kids will have this all in one place and they won't have to worry. It's a peace of mind that you're trying to give them. It's a favor that you're trying to do for them, is to help them out, get this filled out. And I say these words, and Henry and Ara and the people that have heard me preach over and over and over, I do it. I say this to people: Mr. and Mrs. Jones, Margaret, Henry, I tell you what, it's hard to come up with this information, especially when you get down here to addresses and phone numbers of cousins, aunts, uncles, nieces, and nephews. It's hard to find this stuff. We have phones these days, so we can find it pretty easy. But you fill one out for you, Henry, okay? Margaret,
Okay.
you fill one of these out for you. And that way, when, W-H-E-N, when the policy comes back to you, you'll have it all in one place, right, Henry?
Yes.
So did you hear what I said? I'm pre-selling the policy. This is my point in my presentation to where I pre-sell the policy. I've got them shaking their head, yes, yes, yes. I've got them shaking, saying yes, yes, yes. And I pre-sell the policy and I tell them, hey, I'm doing something for you. Okay. I want y'all to do something for each other to fill one of these out. If you have any additional information, any additional requests that you would like to see, maybe you want to see, here in these boxes, maybe you want to see do you want it at the church? Do you want it at the funeral home? Do you want a burial? Do you have a cemetery plot? Yes or no? Are there any scriptures or readings? Do you have any favorite songs, that you want? What kind of a casket do you prefer? Mahogany, wood? What clothing do you prefer? Are you a veteran? Do you want to wear your jewelry? Who do you want? Do you know how many times people have arguments about who the pallbearers are going to be? Well, we can't invite him and not him, or I would like to have him, but if I do, I've got to have him. Okay. So if this is all written down and we know who Henry wants to be his pallbearers, who they are, the 8 people or 8 guys or whatever, then that's easy for me because I can go back to this piece of paper and go, hey, he wanted Bill, Tim, Steve, Tommy, whatever, to be his pallbearers. And I can say, man, thank you so much, Henry, for filling this out. That way I didn't have to make this decision. And then your newspaper notices and stuff like that. I don't really focus too much in the very beginning of my presentation on, hey, do you want cremation or burial? Because the money is going to go to the beneficiary anyways. I'm going to be, in heaven, and pray for that, I'm going to be in heaven. My kids can do what they want to do. They can have a party, they can whatever. I'm going to leave it up to them, but I'm going to leave enough money that they can make a good decision. You know what I mean, Henry? I'm going to leave enough money to where if they want to have, and they see this, they can take care of it and they don't have to come out of their pocket for it. That's what's important to me. So I really dive down in these 2 sections and I challenge you to really take a look at it for yourself. You as a person, fill one of these out to the very complete and then sit down and look at it and go, man, I'm glad I did that. I'm glad that I filled one out myself. Now I can go relay this feeling of filling this out, relay this release of burden, relay this to my clients and go, you know what, when I did this, I felt so good about it because I knew I had everything all together. I knew I had it all together and I'm happy about that. Okay. So I challenge you to do it because I think when you do it, it's going to make sense for your clients. And then I go over here and I say, hey, Henry, read those bullet points for me.
whole life protection up to 35,000, affordable rates that will never increase, protection that can never be reduced or canceled, a simple application with no medical exam, immediate benefits from the very first day, guaranteed cash value. Anyone through 90 years of age is eligible to apply.
So Henry and Margaret, does that make sense right there?
Yes, sir, it does.
Perfect. I want to show you a few things. So did you hear what I did? That I want everybody to kind of catch what I did. So I asked him, does that make sense, Henry? And because I want to make sure they're still on the same page. And I did not even pause when I said this. And I said, perfect. I want to show you one more thing. And then I take this piece of paper out right here, okay, that Henry was talking about. And if you read this closely, it says this: planning a funeral, especially when you find yourself in a difficult time of bereavement, can be a very daunting task. The list that follows contains some decisions that need to be made by every family to make arrangements for funeral, sometimes in just a matter of hours. Okay. So when we look at the list over here, we have vital statistics, things that need to be gathered, funeral arrangements, things right here that need to be taken care of, clothing, ladies, cosmetology, hairdressing, funeral coach, flower car, whatever it may be, a graveside service, other decisions right here. Prepare your home for family and guests, transportation,
You cut out again.
here. So Henry, there are 122 things here that I'm going to help you put with your policy, right? So when you have this together with your policy, when you have this together with your historical information all in one place, right? And the policy comes back to you, then you and Margaret will have this all together for whoever it may be that takes care of this business. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So it's all packaged together and it's all in one place. And so if y'all heard what I said this, and in my presentation, I do it a little slower, but I try to 2 or 3 times during my presentation, I say, and I get acknowledgement from the potential client. And I say, when I bring the policy back, or when the policy is delivered, So they're already in their mind thinking that they're getting a policy. And I'm just going through the presentation. But if you take this and you, however you want to use it, but I think it would help you out a lot if you continue to reassure them that they are going to get a policy. Okay. It really does make them shake their head. Yes, and no. Because they're looking at each other going, Margaret's looking at Henry's looking at Margaret and go kind of like, well, crap, why didn't we do this earlier? Why haven't we done this yet? And that's what, clients need to feel that. Like they need to have that, why have we not done this yet kind of feeling, because it is a release of burden. It is a blessing for the people. So Henry, does that make sense? That's why we do that 122 things here that you and Margaret will have to think about one day.
Wow. I never thought there were so many, but yeah.
There are a lot. I didn't either when I saw this. I mean, when I put this with my policy. So here what I do, I play along with him together and go, yeah, I didn't either, until I got my policy, got all this together, and it sure does help. It makes me feel comfortable. So, and then I switch straight from there. And I pull out my application. So I hope you don't get dizzy. I'm going over here to my little baby shortcut that I put into here on the download your state apps. So if you're looking for some apps, instead of going all the way into the agent portal over here, if you're looking for some apps, you can take a little shortcut right here. So I've got Texas. I'm going to click on Texas here, and then I'm going to go over to the application. But normally I'll have the application in my hand, a paper application. So let me rewind a little bit. I go straight from the funeral planning fact sheet, and when the moment that that Henry says, yes, now that does make sense and make sense in this. So I switch straight over here to the application and I turn to page 2, which is right here. And I'm not going to go over the application today. I will on another webinar, maybe next week, or you can watch one of my old ones. I switch right over to here, Henry, and I say, Henry, and I'll have 2 applications. I'll say, Henry, so that I can get y'all a rate and know where we fall. Tell me about your medications and tell me about your height and weight. Talk to me about your medications that you're taking. And if you need to go get your prescription bag, let me know, because that's how we rate things. So tell me what you're taking and tell me about anything I need to know about your health, your heart, your lungs, anything I need to know. And then tell me what medications you're on. Okay. And they will. And they will. You're going to either get, well, how much does this cost? And you can again go, well, I need to know what you're taking, because we have 3 levels of our plan. And I need to know, I'm going to do my best to get you the best price. That's what I need. That's what my job is to get you the best premium, but I need to know what you're taking. And if they go in and go, well, I don't know about this, then that's the time that you overcome objections, And, if somebody says to you, Henry, said, well, I don't know if we can, I don't know if we should, I don't know about this. What do you assume happened if I say, yeah, I don't know if we really need to, I don't know if we want this. What would you assume?
Me personally, I would go back to, Mr. Henry, when we, you sent in this form wanting information about this mailer, wanting information about, burials. Yeah. I'm assuming you haven't changed your mind yet, have you? I mean, you wanted to talk about, we talked about cremation or burial, and then you said burial. So that's what made you change your mind, sir? Yeah, that's the question I usually ask. What made you change? I asked that question to find out what the objection is. There's an objection.
Perfect. I mean, you must somewhere along the line, either you messed up on the presentation where they didn't understand it, or you might just be talking to someone overall that's maybe it's a timing thing. Maybe they're like, yeah, I don't know about, this time or that time or this time. When an objection comes up at this point in time, you missed something or they missed something.
A lot of it is, well, I don't get paid till the 3rd, and it's the middle of the month. I don't have the money to start this out. So can we start it then? That's what I get. So go ahead. I'll let you answer that one.
And I'll say, perfect. We absolutely can, Henry. We absolutely can start it anytime you want to, 30 days out. We won't even bill you. You won't even take any money out. When did you say you get paid? The 3rd? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Today's the 24th. So on our applications, what we need to do so that you don't lose this opportunity, we will get you approved. And then on the draft upon approval, we'll put no here, Henry. Okay. So no money will come out. And then all I have to do is come over here and put the 3rd of next month in March. And that will be the 3rd of March. Okay. So it won't do anything to your account until the 3rd of March. And that's when it'll take it out. And that's when you'll have coverage on the 3rd of March. Sound good?
Sounds good.
So yeah, so we're not going to go, through objections over today, but those are some things you may get, as you go through here, we may have another webinar on objections. I know a lot of y'all on the line here are tenured people, so you probably overcome a lot of objections here. And I think if you go through this right here slow enough, and the first part, these 2 parts slow enough, they're really reading this out loud right here. And if they're really reading this out loud right here, you minimize the number of objections that you're even going to get. Now, one true objection is price objection sometimes. So when I go through this again, I went to funeral planning, I went right here to the medications, and then Henry told me he didn't have any medications. Then you know what I do? Okay, perfect. No medications, you're in good shape. What about this? I go right back to this page, not to confuse things. I go right back here and I say, okay, Henry, here's what I'm going to do. Most people, like we talked about before, know that it cost, $12,000, $15,000. That's what you said, right? For a funeral.
Yes,
then
sir, I did.
you said that. And then so we also talked about needing some extra money for a few things. So I can't write real good with my mouse, but I'm going to put $15,000 here, and I'm going to quote you $15,000. All right. Is that good enough? That work?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Then I just toggle back over here to my calculator right in front of them or on my phone. And I just go right in here and Mr. Jones, how old are you? How old are you, Mr. Jones? You're 60 years old.
60. Yes, sir.
$15,000. You're male, Mr. Jones. Do you smoke or use tobacco?
No, sir. No, sir.
All right, perfect. Calculate this up. $66.50. That's what we're looking at. $66.50. Okay. And for those of y'all that are brand new, if you get a price objection at this point in time, oh gosh, that's pretty high, or they cringe a little bit, you're gonna know by reading their face what their reaction is to $66.55. And so I just say $66.55. That's a great price for $15,000. But if they do balk, you can use new people. You can use this back to calculator button over here to the left. You can toggle over here. And if they say, well, all I can do is $50, you put in 50, and then you can hit calculate, which will actually give you an indicator as to how much coverage they can get, which would be 11,000. Don't use that in your premium. Hit your back to calculator button one more time. Slide this over to face, put $11,000 in there, and hit calculate. Mr. Jones, hey, we still can get the $11,000, and it'll be $49.71. So let's go ahead and write that up, correct?
Yeah, I can afford that. Yeah, I can afford that. Yeah.
And that still gets a good policy. You're still gonna have enough money there for a funeral, a nice funeral, and and still gonna take care of that. So let's go ahead and write that up. And I'll just toggle back over here. Miss Jones, is there anything I need to know about you? And I do the same thing. And I go over here and write that number down in here. Total benefit, $49.71. And maybe like with Henry's pen and green. Hey, I'm going to do this, Henry, for you.
All right.
There you go. Green. Look.
Hey, there you go.
And circle
Stands
that
out a little bit more.
Huh?
Stands out a little bit more.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's green, big green. It does actually. I like that. So however you do that, okay? So from this point on, you go into the application and you use your sales techniques to take that application and you take it to the next level. All right. And then you complete the application, from there on, go over your questions and go through the application. I'm not going to go through that today because I just want to talk about a couple of ideas on the presentation and how to get there. Okay. So the main key points in summary here today on this, and then I'll let you guys and girls go because I've been on here about an hour, is that you yourself find the spots in the presentation that mean the most to you personally, and to you as your family. And I'll have to say this out loud. If you don't get passionate about talking about this, and if you don't get passionate about protecting people, you might be in the wrong business. I'm just saying. I mean, I want you to be successful, but if you don't get passionate about taking care of people and passionate about serving people, protecting people, and making money while you do it, it might be the wrong business, for you. But I don't think that's true. I think everyone on the line here, I know all of you, most of you, are passionate about what you do and passionate about protecting people and families. And this is a great tool here to use. You just need to tailor it to yourself. But you got to have, it's like back to the very beginning. It's like Ara said, it's like Henry said, you got to have a system. Because when you get in that house, you start talking about a dog or a cat and they bark and siren goes off or whatever, and you lose your place. If you don't have a system and you don't have this presentation to get back on track, it could go left pretty quickly and lose it. Okay. So I challenge you, Henry, you got anything else to throw in there, or Ara, if you want to unmute yourself, or anybody else on the line that has been doing this a while, anybody want to add anything for the group that maybe they believe in or do that could help us all out? now's your chance to kind of shine if you want to. Anybody here want to add anything to that?
No, just like you said, find your niche, find what you like to say, what you really feel is going to, work for you, read your people, look at them, not, every time you're going to ask a question, you should know the answer to it. Okay. But not doing the objections, but when you ask them a question, does this feel good to you? Does this look good to you? You're nodding your head yes and looking at them, and they should be looking at you, and you're nodding. Does that sound good to you, Keelan? And Keelan's gonna go, yeah, it does. But you're nodding your head too at the same time.
Yes.
Yes.
Amen. When you nod, your gestures, they will mimic you. It's like a parrot, and they'll mimic what you're doing. Have you ever talked to someone, Henry, that they I don't know how they do this, but they talk they talk in reverse language. Like they'll say, hey, you don't want to go over there to get some ice cream, do you? They say, like, wait, is that a question, or are you telling me that I don't want to? Like, you don't really want to go, do you? Or do you think do you think you should go? Or you don't really think that way, do you? Or do you really want to, it's like, wait, hold on. It's like, instead of going shaking their head, yes, we're going. Yes, I believe this. And
you don't ask them the question, do you really think this is good for you?
Yeah. Give them a chance to
say no.
Yeah. You don't really have the money, do you? So that's funny. Well, hey, listen, I'm going to leave y'all there, with this, and I'll leave you with a couple of tidbits that I believe in, just because, again, front pew or back pew, Henry, it's not a matter of if, it's when. Everybody, average age of is 77. Everybody, is going to pass away one day. Let's be the protectors. Let's find 5 people a day to call and say, how are you doing? Did you know I'm in the business? Find something on social media, post something. If you're not friends with me on Facebook, go look me up on Facebook, my business Facebook. I put good tidbits there every day. Play around in Lead Hub, play around in your portal, order some supplies. And if you have any questions, call or text me. I promise you I'll get back with you. If it's not in a timely manner, I'll try my best. That's what I'm here for. You're there to protect the families. I can help you, but I can't find them for you. If you're interested in the career program and taking your game to a little different level, let me know, call me and talk to me. Let's make 2022 a year to remember. Let's focus on each person here trying to at least throw in 2 or 3 policies a month. Not just for me, not for the company's numbers, not for that. It's for you. When you protect a couple of families a month and you get that feeling, kind of like, remember Toyota, what a feeling, Toyota. But when you walk out of the house and people are really thankful for what you've given them because you came and served them, you helped them like nobody's ever done it before. That's a different feeling. That's a different feeling. And that's what you're licensed and you're a professional for. So I want to thank every single person on here. I hope you picked up a tidbit or a cookie or something in these trainings. I'll try to change them up every week. I'm here for you. Let's go protect some families here, and let's stay warm, stay safe. And just like I say always at the end of my trainings, adios.